In today's video, I am going to be breaking down DJ Wagner and how he shoots the basketball. He is one of the top prospects coming into this high school season, so let's get down and let's check out his shot. First off, to become a very consistent shooter, you need to be able to shoot off the dribble as well as for set shots. You can also see here that DJ Wagner is able to also shoot over multiple defenders who are trying to guard him. And to do this, it takes a lot of skill and a lot of practice to be able to make that shot. So today, let's really look at his shooting form. Now, here he's coming off of the dribble, taking obviously a 2-footed jump shot. That's what you really actually want to see. But first off, let's start with the base. And that is, he has his heels off the ground. That's going to engage his calves earlier on in the jump shot to be able to get him up into the air faster, preferably before those two defenders block his shot. Something I really also want to point out when we rewind just a bit is how early he's looking at that rim, scanning his surroundings to see, can I get this shot over these two guys or not? And because he's driving right, he then stomps his right foot down, and that's what you really want to see to be able to stop your forward momentum or your sideways momentum. And then from there, he skies up for his shot. Now, as we can see here, his left shoulder is actually in front of his right. The reason behind this, it's not part of his shooting form. It's because he was going towards that right side. So then he stops early and he's able to kick this right leg up, twisting his body around so that he can get his shoulder and elbow in line with the basketball net. This is very important. The next part is the ball and, of course, where that ball is sitting for the set point. We can see the set point is roughly just above his right eye, which gives him a nice high set point, but also a nice high soft release. We can see that with his hand. His wrist is not a jagged edge. We can see he has no thumb flick, and he has full extension with his elbow over his forehead. However, for a set shot, we can see that he generally gets his shoulders pretty well over top of his knees and over top of his toes. That gives him that perfect Z formation. Now, some players will shoot with their shoulders farther back, but that's usually going to keep you off balanced. And if you have an issue with balance, definitely try to get your shoulders over your knees, over your toes. That's going to make your life so much easier in most cases. Then he goes up for his shot, and we can see from his elbow that there really isn't that much bend up into his set point. From his gather to set point, there is really zero elbow bend, and because of that, that helps create a consistent shot. He also seems to be very consistent on getting his right foot in front of his left, which is what you generally want to see, but he does stay very consistent with not having any kind of a dip to that ball as well. He is more consistent grabbing that basketball or driving right than he is dribbling towards the left side. However, I can foresee that he's going to be able to shoot better, or at least shoot from that side in the future. He's still young, we have to keep that in mind. He is pretty consistent with left-handed pull-up jumpers as well, which is nice to see, so that driving left into a shot will come. It generally is easier for a right-handed player to shoot dribbling left anyways, so that will eventually come. We can also see from this shot that he does have a little bit of a shadow underneath that ball, so there is a little bit of a gap between his palm and the ball. And we can see that he still, when dribbling up with his left hand, tries to get his shoulder as much as he can. At least he's balanced. He's a bit farther back here. However, he's still able to balance himself, and he doesn't exactly have a ton of body sway at the bottom. However, when he starts shooting from even farther out into the future, he probably will develop a little bit of a sway that generally does give you a little bit more power. Now, he doesn't exactly have a ton of rotation on that ball, which is usually associated with a thumb flick, but he doesn't have a thumb flick. So what it is potentially is this soft release that doesn't exactly have any wrist bend at all. Now, I don't expect him to change it. He seems to be a pretty high percentage shooter. However, I wonder if he's ever tried having a little bit more wrist bend to be able to have a little bit more rotation on that ball. Maybe that's something he will develop later on. Wrist strength isn't exactly something that shows itself in most cases at the high school level. And usually the players who have extreme wrist strength usually are known as some of the top players anyways. So from there, we can see that he could develop a little bit more rotation on the ball, which would ultimately just make it softer to landing on the rim, more probabilities of it bouncing in, things like that. And this is actually a really good angle to see his set point, which again does seem to be over top of his right eye, which is perfectly normal, especially when he starts to release, because the release point is his middle finger. And of course, that one is looking like a very good shot. Now, sometimes when he does dribble up towards his left side, he does bring it straight from his left up towards his right, and I'm not going to say that that's wrong. Many people will say that that looks wrong because of the LaMelo Ball issue. However, I personally don't believe it's wrong. Left to right, you should be able to do. You don't have to bring it over to your right side and then lift it up. You want to go quicker, you want to get it over top of that defender, go left to right, and you should be totally fine. Just don't be going left to right if you're dribbling right-handed. That would be kind of counterintuitive or against what your body really wants to do. That would be the LaMelo Ball issue if you brought it from right side to, of course, left side and then back towards the right to release. That's the issue with LaMelo Ball. However, here, it's just because he's driving left. He wants to have a shortcut across his body. That's 100% correct in my opinion. And if you really want to be able to shoot faster, that's something that you can develop as well. I hope that this video helps you shoot the basketball better, but also understand DJ Wagner's game a bit more. If it does, hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys again next time.